Hello. This is the meeting for the Machine Shop Village. We are conducting this meeting virtually, and it's for an application at 233 Main Street for solar collectors. Prior to starting the meeting, I would like to read a statement prior to opening the public meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 38, paragraph 18, and the Governor's March 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the North Andover Machine Shop Village is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by watching on your television on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or online by visiting www.northandovercam.org. So I will open the meeting now. And first thing on the agenda is we'll call the meeting to order. Second thing on the agenda is the application for certificate to alter for the property located at 233 Main Street. Again, this will allow for the installation of a rooftop solar panels. Prior to opening the hearing, I want to read this statement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 38, paragraph 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may be gathered in one place, the public hearing of the North Andover Machine Shop Village is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. But again, the public can listen to the meeting while in progress by viewing on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28 or online. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment. By emailing your questions or comments prior to or during the meeting to, and I'll spell it out, HAZNOIAN@NORTHANDOVERMA.gov. Again, questions or comments can be sent prior or during the meeting to HAZNOIAN@NorthandoverMass.gov. The questions will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. Okay, with that, I'm going to open it up. Also for the public, from the agenda on the second agenda item, there is a link that people can click on that will bring them to a share folder. We will be referencing documents inside that share folder by name so that the public can follow along as we discuss them. With that, I'm going to open up the application, and who is on from the applicant? Is Tiffany, are you on?
James Manzer for Revision Energy.
Okay.
Richard Garrick Hoffman, the applicants.
Okay. So do you want to walk us through the application? What the proposal is?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can take you through that. Yeah, so we are proposing to install 44 solar electric panels on the garage roof of the residence at 233 Main Street in North Andover. There will be 16 panels on the front of the roof. There will be 28 on the back. They're an all black panel using black rail, so it should aesthetically match very nicely with the existing shingles. We follow along with the row of the roof, and so you know, with only just about 1 inch to 3 inches, depending on how flat the roof is. We make sure that those are nice and even, so there's no gaps in between. All electrical will end up being internal in the garage, and then there's a conduit path back to the house, and then we'll run through a crawl space and into a basement to the kind of southeast corner of the house. At this time, National Grid is requiring that the electric meter be placed outdoors. They noted that there are gas meters outdoors, and so our attempt at asking for an exemption to keep meters indoors was denied by National Grid. And yeah, I guess I'm happy to take questions. That's a pretty broad overview of the solar array.
Okay, thank you for that. And for the public, they can see the configuration on the PDF document titled Kaufman, Kara, and Richmond Meeting Packet PDF 1.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up first to the commission members for questions. Jerry, do you want to start?
Yeah, this is Jerry Wilson. As I was looking at it, I drove by the property a couple times, and I can't tell, maybe the homeowner can chime in on this. It doesn't look like the garage was originally built with the house.
That's correct. We actually put in for the garage, getting a little bit of feedback here, but we put in for the garage probably about 5 or 6 years ago. We went through the same commission, which was headed by Liz, I believe, at the time.
Correct.
We met at Dunkin' Donuts. Looks like things have come a long way since then in terms of technology. So we met at Dunkin' Donuts. They approved it. We put up the garage, and now we're looking to put the solar cells up. And yeah, you are correct. It was not original to the house. The house was actually built in 1860, and the garage is about 5 or 6 years old.
Okay. Second question, are these panels, is there any way to size these panels to reduce the number of them?
I'll leave that to revision to.
I mean, so each panel is a 320 watt panel. And so reducing the number of them will reduce the amount of electric output.
Okay. Those are really the only two concerns I had. If Justin has anything to say, or Harry.
Justin?
Hi, this is Justin. So I had a couple questions. Yeah, my concern with I want to focus on the house. So I just want to picture, I saw that on the exterior, there's going to be a meter, a rapid shutdown initiator, an AC isolation device, and a smart generator. And from what I could tell from the same slide that you're referring to, that we've been referring to, Kaufman, Kara, and Rich, it looks like it's going to be on the front left corner. So I just wanted, there's some windows there. So are all those things going to be under the window? I'm just trying to get a picture as to how it's going to look on the house.
That's correct.
Okay. And like, as far as size, what are the size of these items? I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it. I saw it on my neighbor's house, so I assume it's similar, but how much space does that take up?
Yeah, so we will be following National Electric Code, but these are utility meters. So just like any National Grid meter that you have, that's what the utility meter will be. That's what the MA Smart Generation meter will be. They're just standard National Grid electric meters.
Okay.
The rapid shutdown initiator, that's a fire code requirement. So that's if the fire department needs to, rapidly de-energize a solar array. They need that near the utility meter. That is just a disconnect switch, and that will be in line. So it's smaller, or right about the same size as the utility meter. And along with that will be, and we could send over maybe some examples of recent installations that we've done to give you a sense of this. And then AC isolation device is essentially just a dual pole breaker.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think I have a pretty good idea. So space-wise, it basically everything's going to be right under that first window, just about. Is that safe to say?
That is safe to say.
And is it all going to be mounted directly to the siding? Is there going to be like a box, like a wood box behind it, or like a PVC box?
Yeah, typically we'll cut in some AZAC to
Yep.
give it a nice
Sure.
background to work off of.
Okay, perfect. Okay, all right. That pretty much answers the questions I have.
Okay. So this is Harry. So what can you tell us about the frame structure that the panels will be sitting in, i.e., how high off the roof will those be offset to?
Yep.
And second, I've seen a lot of solar panels, and what is the thickness of those panels?
Ooh, good question. So yeah,
I mean they're getting thinner and thinner. I mean we are seeing them come down. So I'm just
Absolutely.
curious as to what the thinner.
Yep. So the way that we install the solar array is we'll put an L foot.
Yep.
That flashes in behind the asphalt shingles. And so that L foot is typically 3 inches tall, and it has a groove inside it in which we can have some slight adjustment, whether we're right at 3 inches or down a little bit. And again, that's to really make sure that the panels themselves are flush to each other in case you have any distortion in the roof of the array, of the roof of the garage. This being a 5-year-old garage roof, we expect that we can go right down to the 2-inch mark, 1.5 inch mark on those L feet without having to need to too many adjustments. From there, we install a black rail that sits essentially in that groove. There'll be 2 sets of rail per panel, and so there'll be a rail supporting the top of the panel, and there'll be a rail supporting the bottom of the panel. And then we secure those using what we call lovingly as a UFO. It's a little black, essentially a bolt that has a gasket on top that sets on the panels and pulls them down onto that rail and secures them to that rail. It's also black, so really difficult to see without getting right on top of them. The thickness of these panels, and I apologize because these are, this is a global supply chain. We're going to use millimeters, but I believe these are 38 millimeters thick.
Okay. So 38. Okay. All right. So for me personally, I mean, has there any consideration been done to do, so from a public way, the backside is really challenging for us to see, right? So my concern is more from Main Street, so the front facade, of which you're, got 16 panels. Have you considered, going to 14 panels in a single row at the top of the ridge?
We're working hard to achieve the electrical, offset. These produce electricity, and so really, the aesthetics are for us. We're a custom solar installer. We don't, slap up big boxes and just go. So aesthetics are important, but at the same time, so is, you know, achieving the goals of the homeowner, to make sure that we provide them, you know, the incentives and the electrical offset. There's no, you know, so reducing the number of panels will reduce the amount of electrical output.
Well, obviously that, I mean, if you're 2 cells less, that's true. But this is a very, you know, it's a very wide area of surface area. And so, you know, we're asking for 16 panels. And what we've seen is when you put a single row from the ridge for a large area, it tends to blend in a lot more effectively. So my inclination is to see 14 panels across the top of the front facade.
This is
I don't know what.
Sorry. When we were in discussions with Revision, going through multiple different iterations and trying to see what we could get in terms of electricity, you know, we told them that there was a cutoff point where this wouldn't be worth it to us. So there was discussions about a single row. I remember at one point along the top where we said we wanted, again, we wanted this to basically work for 2 cars in the future, basically 2 electric cars, and to also be able to cover our existing electrical costs until then. So they took all that into consideration, and basically we kind of went back and forth. And this was what they proposed in order to meet that. So I think it was for us a matter of whether or not it would be feasible and financially doable and this is what they came back with.
Yeah, and I didn't get into the specification on the wattages of these particular cells, and I don't know if you could go to higher wattage cells or, you know, I didn't go into that detail, or, you know, whether or not, you know, if you need more wattage, you know, perhaps, you know, you can put, you know, some arrays on the ground as well. I mean, you have a lot of area, you know, of ground. I mean, I'm just
able to do that. I didn't think North Andover allowed ground arrays.
Right, that's what we were.
Oh, we absolutely allow ground arrays. We have, there's a ground array on Academy Road at the, next to the North Parish. To the left of that, you can see that. That's a rotating array. It's not even a stationary array. There's a series of ground arrays on Andover Street that we have also.
Because we were told.
I'm sorry?
We were told residential was not allowed to have ground arrays.
No, these are all. There are 3 homes, 2 on Academy Road that have ground arrays, and 1 on Andover Street, all residential homes.
All I can go is by what I was told, but what we were told. But we were also told that these were the best positions for them because of the trees and everything, was to use the roof.
Yeah, and I would, you know, the other piece, just, you know, yes, we could go with a higher wattage panel. It does, you know, those are, you know, as you go to a higher premium panel, it does increase the cost per, you know, per watt. So even though you're getting more wattage for the same rectangle, that rectangle costs more for it, you know, its output. It's not, you know, significant, but, you know, there are cost benefits there. And then with a ground mounted array, you know, we can do that, but you're also now buying a structure in which to put the panels on. So again, it would increase costs for the same output. And you know, again, not saying that that's that's a decision that the Kaufmans will have to, you know, would have to weigh, but you know, it's not a zero-sum game. There is additional cost for making these changes.
Yeah, and I don't know what the costs are. I mean, this commission doesn't get involved in the cost aspects of it. And certainly I appreciate the fact that, you know, there's variable costs in all options, right? my inclination is, as we're trying to, maintain, the least impactful solution here. What I'm saying is, I mean, particularly, one of the newest projects that's off the common, where they've put, solar onto the former print museum. That also was a single linear row from the ridge. I think it was probably 8 or 9 inches down off the ridge, but it blends in very nice. I mean, you're combining that with you don't have even. I think I would have a different perspective on it if it was a charcoal or an all black roof or a very dark roof. But this is a light colored roof, which that contrast is really going to come out. It's really going to come out. It's going to, when we drive by it, we're going to see it. And my perspective is, if you did a single roll at the top, it may be better if we were going to do that. So.
Okay, this is Justin. Just a quick follow-up question. Is it possible, so the configuration obviously is 16 on the front and then it's a full width in the back. Could you swap them, or because that rear roof is the south facing, it wouldn't produce as much?
It would not produce as much.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
We have a question about that. So the neighbors across the street from us, diagonal across the street from us, put up solar arrays as well. Theirs are separated. Some are on the garage, some are on the main house, some are on different sides of the house. It's done in different shapes. It doesn't seem like that restriction was put on our neighbors, and ours is just simply one rectangular as opposed to multiple different shapes.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a great question, but it's not 100% valid. When I mean, look, the whole technology of solar use is moving quickly, and the technology is constantly evolving. And, I mean, 3 years ago, black, arrays were expensive, and you didn't see them in common, all black. You look at a project like the museum. I mean, they're using an ultra thin, flexible panel. I mean, it's a prototype basically that's just coming off. You read in the news, that they're even evolving into, shingles that'll be, totally. So my point is, it's constantly moving. We can't look at historically, what another application did or this application did or that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to move along with technology, and we're trying to move, with what's being offered and what we can do to, balance the, opportunity to provide, environmentally solar collecting methods and keeping the aesthetics to a min as we move forward. That's what we're trying to do.
Hi, this is Kara. I actually sit on the board of the North Andover Historical Society, and I'm very familiar with that project. The thing is that we're funding this project with donations, and and the person who's overseeing it also sits on the board. He is one of the persons who has the solar array on Academy Road, and he's an MIT engineer. So correct. He's done amazing things with the money that we've been able to gather so far. The two of us are just the two of us, and we're trying to do the best with the environment. I'm a history professor. I'm a historian. I totally understand why it's important to preserve the history, but I think there should be, give and take here where the world is now, and we're trying to look into the future and prepare for, two electric cars and gifting electricity to possibly people who don't have enough money to fund their own electricity. So I'm while still trying to maintain, you know, the machine shop village.
I appreciate the challenge. You know, I mean, what we're saying is, well, I mean, I can't speak for the other commission members, but from my perspective, I mean, I don't know the cost difference. We don't get involved in the cost pieces of it. I mean, that is a homeowner. We're trying to provide options. I think from my perspective, a good balance would be to go to 14 panels across the top of the front, leave the back the same, maybe just upgrade your front panels. I don't know how many you would have to upgrade to a higher wattage in order to accommodate, you know, the delta for 2 less panels. I don't know. But that's just my perspective. I mean, the other commission members we could put a motion, it could pass. I'm not, but that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, this is Jerry Wilson again. Harry, that's kind of what I was going when I started with the question about the garage not being part of the original house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like they're trying to put it on the historic building, and it really is set so far back from the road. I mean, I do like the idea of going to a single line, but I also understand their need to have those 16 panels. So could it be balanced out by placing two at each end and then a straight line across?
So make it like a U, almost an inverted U.
Correct, James.
Yep. There's nothing technically.
At least then it would look symmetrical, and it would kind of, I mean, like, again, for me, it's just so far back off the road. I know it's there, so I will notice it. But given the fact that, I mean, if you look at the map, there's a very short span between the trees in the front of the house and the trees to the left of the driveway, where people are going to have an opportunity to see this unless they're walking down the street. And again, it's not on a historic building. It's on a building that was built 5 years ago.
It is. It's, for me, it's not, and I appreciate that point, Jerry. I do. I mean, you know, it is not on a historic building. It's on a newer structure. It's just the overall width of that building. I mean, it's not like a 2-stall garage. It's a massive width.
Yeah. You got 2 singles and a double.
Well, I mean, you know, I mean, we're talking 44 panels. You know,
yeah.
I mean, that's a huge number of panels. Huge. I mean, that, you know, I mean, when we look at 44, I think, you know, that's probably equivalent to, you know, the array total that we put on that museum building that society owns. I mean, so, and that's a massive building. That's almost 40,000 square feet. So I'm not sure why we need 44, you know, panels, but it's not a small amount of panels.
Right.
But I appreciate the application. It's not my place to judge, you know, what the wattage is or what the use is. That's the homeowner. But I'm just saying, it's you know, if it was a 3-stall garage and you know, that would be different. But you know, we're talking 16 panels across the front. I don't know. I have a hard time with it. But.
This is Justin again. Is it possible to have 14 across the top of the front and have 2 on the back part of the house roof?
No.
No. Okay.
So
I don't know. I'm just asking.
We had looked at the house first, and because of the fact of the age of the house, the condition of the roof, the need to remove the chimney, the fact that there could be leakage into living space, which wouldn't really impact us as much in the garage, and our hope to get as close to, you know, this project being worthwhile. That's how we ended up on the garage with those panels. And I guess I'd ask revision, since I'm on the line as well, if any of the changes that because we did go through multiple different configurations, if any of the changes that are being proposed would impact the cost for us. We were basically at the extreme end of our budget where we are now, and I'm just wondering if this is going to put us over.
Sure. Yeah, I mean reducing the number of panels will reduce the cost, but it also reduces the output. The inverted U, no change there. 14 panels in a single array at the top. Like I said, that the only thing will be a reduction in cost because of the reduction of panels. And those are the, we talked about ground mounts. If we move to a ground mount, that would increase cost because there's something we have to build the structure in which the panels are attached to, and increasing to a premium wattage panel to offset the difference in panels would be a cost difference because those panels do cost more per output, per watt of output.
And how many higher wattage panels would you need to do to replace the 2 panels if you put them on in the 14 arrays across the top?
Yeah, I did the math. We would need all 14 to be a premium panel to increase the wattage to offset the 2 panels.
And if you only had 14, what percentage of the overall output would you lose? I mean, percentage wise. I mean, 5%, 10%. I mean,
it'd be 5%.
I mean, and that's not livable. I mean, that pushes it over.
Again, what we're trying to do is offset. So maybe some context would be helpful. National Grid, the utility, the electric utility, won't compensate the Kaufmans for excess capacity. They can bank that extra electricity into net metering credits, but they won't be paid. So it's not like they're setting themselves up to be an electricity generator. We've sized this system appropriately to offset their current electrical usage. Not only that, but they're talking about switching from gasoline powered vehicles to electric powered vehicles. So now we're taking your transportation, we're turning it into electric, and we're also going to be then powering it with renewable energy. And so think about all the times you go to the gas station to fill up. We're eliminating that need for them by putting these what I consider beautiful black rectangles on their roof. Mm-hmm. So electrical usage is in the changes per homeowner and how they use electricity and how they use energy. The total amount of electricity is higher at this residence because they are taking a number of fossil fuel burning appliances and vehicles and transitioning them to electric. And I think that is why maybe the 44 seems like a lot, but when you think about the amount of gallons of oil and gas and heating oil and things like that, natural gas that you use to burn to heat your home, that you use to burn to transport yourself around town and go on road trips, we're offsetting all of that with sunshine, which is pretty neat.
And in your calculations, right, independent of the new vehicles, what percentage do you envision to be surplus being sent back to National Grid?
None. I mean, we'll net meter, which means we'll, in the summertime, we'll overproduce. And I apologize, I don't mean that without the vehicles, but we'll overproduce in the summertime and underproduce in the wintertime and net an even amount. Right. Maybe Rick and Kara can talk a little bit about what their current electric, how much would we be sending to the grid currently? I don't recall that.
Yeah, well, we understood from talking with the previous gentleman from Revision that we were just going to be shy of really what we were looking for in terms of the 2 cars plus our electric needs. So This was sort of at the bare, it was at the high end of our budget, and they're just just what we would be willing to accept for electricity is where we ended up.
And just for context, it might seem weird that we have almost the same amount of panels on our garage as the old print museum does, but the other thing that the print museum has is geothermal. So
Correct. Yep.
it's not really a fair comparison there.
Well, no, and I don't think you have 45,000 square feet in that house either.
Well, no, but
If you did, it would be concealed very nicely, I would say. All right.
So just so I understand, so is the objection that the shape of the panels, rather than having them along you think having them along the top would look better than a rectangle shape centered on the roof? Is like a preference?
Well, yeah, because of the contrast. I would have thought, and that was one of the reasons. We're citing the print museum only from an example perspective, but they went with an all black roof in order to minimize the contrast. And they had looked at several color options because they were putting on a new roof, and so that kind of minimizes that contrast, if you will, a darker roof. This roof is sort of like a slate gray. I'm not a color expert, but so whatever we see there is definitely going to contrast more pronounced. And so when you have a single black line at the top, you just whatever contrast you have below it, your eye is going to naturally kind of just look at the one line above it and then not look at the delta between the two. So I think having the light colors on the two sides will definitely make it look like there's a black block on the middle of your roof. Similarly, I don't know, maybe I don't know. What Justin and Jerry, what are your thoughts in terms of the discussion of this? And just so everyone knows, we have not received any questions or comments right now from the public. So I have nothing that I would be adding to that conversation.
This is Justin. I understand what you're saying. I understand what Jerry's saying and the homeowner. For me, the bar of 14 across the top versus the rectangle in the middle. And what Jerry was saying about the size of the gap being the driveway, if you're driving, you're never going to notice. If you're walking briefly, I don't know that the contrast difference between the bar of 14 across the top and the rectangle are going to be all that different. You're going to, in my opinion, you're going to see the contrast either way. So, if the difference is taking off two panels, but we're still going to see the contrast, what's the difference in contrast is going to be somewhat noticeable to a little less noticeable. I don't know if it's enough to go to determine one way or the other. That's kind of where I'm at. It's going to be noticeable either way against the light gray roof. So I don't know if changing the shape is going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, Justin. I don't think it would make that much of a difference either.
All right. Okay. Well, let's put a motion then out there. And then one second. Do either one of you want to make the motion? I'm not in favor of a harsh roof. I think that would complicate it. I think that would just muddy the water. I think that would make it look like a sort of non-symmetrical disarray of the configuration.
Agreed. The reason I had suggested that, Harry, was because it
No,
would
it's a
leave.
good idea.
No, I was just saying, I was thinking
Yeah.
that it would leave one bigger block of the lighter shade rather than separating it into two sections.
And I think you're right. It would. I'm not saying that. I thought about it more and just
Yeah.
said, I'm not seeing that. Okay. Well, why don't we make a motion to, do you want me to make the motion?
Hey, Harry, real quick, I don't know if this makes a difference to you, but I mean, the way the garage is configured with the single stall on the right, I mean, you could slide the whole thing to the left, and then it would look like you'd have your one car area with just gray roof over it, and then the remainder of the garage would look black. It kind of, if you centered it over the garage doors to the left, would that make a difference to you?
Let me look. Where's the- No,
Okay.
no. I'm gonna make the motion. So I'll make a motion that we're going to, for a certificate to alter for 42 all black solar cells. I believe they were, what was the configuration of the cell? Hold on one second. I don't think I have that. Well, let's just say 42 all black. Solar panels based on the configuration as proposed
44?
in PDF 1.
James,
So design packet 2020-0730-1 PDF.
Yeah, it's 44 total panels.
44. All right, let me read it one more time. Okay. So the motion is for a certificate to alter for 44 all black solar panels to be installed per PDF 1 as configured. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to reluctantly say yes to that. So it's 3-0, 3 acceptance, no objections, and we'll pass that then.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there documentation that we would receive?
This is the documentation because
Okay.
it's virtual.
Yep.
This is a recorded meeting, and so this becomes in essence in lieu of having a written certificate that will be issued at the building department when you go to the building department.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
All right. Good night. Thanks, guys.
Agenda 4 for the rest of the commission. Is there any miscellaneous correspondence we need to cover?
Nope.
Jerry? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, who wants to second it?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, guys, thank you for your participation, and we'll be talking soon.